Do you know how to set the active ribbon tab in the Microsoft Office ribbon in an Access application using VBA code? If not, and you think that would be a good thing to know, then watch this video. Hi, I'm Philip from codekabinett.com, and in this video I'm going to talk about how to set the active ribbon tab in the Office ribbon using VBA code. And the whole background of this video is that someone on a forum asked, how can I enable or activate the add-ins tab in the Office ribbon, because I want the user to see this tab first so that he doesn't have to look for it. And at first I typed a bit of an answer, but while thinking about that I realized, yeah, that the basic idea is very simple, but there are a few strings attached, and this would actually make a good video. So here we are, and I'm going to show you how to do that. So we're moving over to the Access application, and usually the user will see something like this if an application starts. And this is helpful for a developer maybe, or someone who's actively working in the design of the application, but it's not really useful for an end user that is working in a custom built Access application. And the background of the question was the add-ins tab here, this one, that is showing the legacy toolbars, and here we are. These are old toolbar buttons built in an MDB Access application with Access 2000, 2002 or something around the time. So it's basically superseded by newer Access versions supporting the Microsoft Access ribbon. And if an application has never been migrated to use the ribbon, the old command bars, the old menu bars will be displayed in the add-ins tab. And that is actually good that they are still available, they still work, but they are a bit hard to find. So it's really a legitimate idea to automatically activate this tab of the ribbon for the user to make it easier to find those. And to do this, we need obviously some VBA code. I already created a module here, but it's completely empty, so we are basically starting from scratch. And in theory, it's super easy to work with the ribbon. We need the Office application, the Office object library, and this contains the ribbon UI. And this is basically an object representing the ribbon in the Access toolbar. And there are already two methods available that jump right in your face that seem to be helpful in this context. It's Activate tab and Activate tab MSO, and we're going to use both of them. And well, for now it appears all that simple, but it is not. In theory, we just would need a private variable. I call it the ribbon, and it's not a ribbon control, it's iRibbon UI. That is basically the thing we need, and we could do not active, activate ribbon tab by MSO ID. MSO ID So, and now we would only need to say, okay, the ribbon activate tab MSO, and we need to know the MSO ID and pass it to that function, and that is basically all. In theory, this video could be over now, because that is the essential line of code you're going to need to activate a ribbon tab. But if we try that in the immediate pane, of course, it will not work. So this is tab add-ins, that is actually the MSO control ID of that ribbon tab. But if I run that, of course I get an error. The object is not set because the ribbon is nothing. And that is where the real problem starts. Because there is no built-in method in neither Access nor the wider Office suite to get the active ribbon. And actually, shame on Microsoft that they didn't provide something like this, because it's obviously a very helpful thing to have. But we don't have it. So, to get a reference to this ribbon, we have to jump some hoops, unfortunately. If we create a custom ribbon, then we can define a callback method inside our ribbon XML. I'm not going to talk about this in much detail, but a very short summary. To define a ribbon, you need to build XML code that basically lays out the structure of the ribbon in a hierarchical way. Like the top level is the ribbon, and then you have the tabs, and inside the tabs you might have groups, and inside those groups you have buttons and other controls, and that all is defined in XML. And in that XML you can also tell Microsoft Access, if you load this ribbon, please call a VBA method to indicate the ribbon was loaded. And when this method is called, Access will also pass in a reference to the ribbon object that was loaded. And that is essentially what we are going to need. But, as I said before, the application does not use a custom ribbon yet, and there's basically no budget available to create one. So we need to use a really basic dummy ribbon to just get this event, to get access to call back into our VBA code and pass us the reference to the ribbon. So I will create a public function, and I will explain why it has to be a function in a second. Load dummy ribbon, that is the name of this function, and I'm not going to type out all the VBA code by hand, so I've got prepared a bit here, so I will just copy that over. The important bit here is essentially this part, the on ribbon load. So we tell Access, if you load this XML ribbon definition, then when you completed loading it, then call the function on ribbon load. And the double quotation marks here, they are just because all this stuff is one long string, and these are quotation marks inside the string. I need to double those to be valid inside the string. One more thing that I say here is ribbon start from scratch false. So I'm not replacing the default Access UI, but I'm just adding stuff to it. And This is super basic. We start with custom UI, that is basically the outer XML container, and then it's only the ribbon, and there's nothing in my ribbon because there's no budget to build a real ribbon. So it's super simple, and we just have this ribbon that does essentially nothing except causing access to raise this event. So we define the sub on ribbon load, and the name is basically user defined. You can call this any way you like. It must correspond only to what's in the XML. If I type, if I've got in the XML on ribbon load, then I must use the same name here. And now I get a variable here which is of type ribbon UI. That is called by Microsoft Access automatically, and we get in that ribbon, and now we use our variable, the ribbon equals the ribbon that was passed in here, and as this is an object, we need to use the set keyword to assign the variable. This is basically the required code, but we are going to need a little bit of additional stuff. I have a constant here that I need to define. That is ribbon name, and it is a string, and I just call this dummy ribbon because it's a dummy. Private const, that's what I need to write. So, and this ribbon name is also passed into the load custom UI command that tells Access load this ribbon. It's named dummy ribbon, and here's the XML, load this stuff. Once Access completed that, it will call the on ribbon load and pass in the reference to the ribbon. So far, so good. But we cannot load a custom ribbon whenever we like. We must load this when the application starts. Otherwise, it will not have an effect. So, and to achieve that, we need to call our code in either the auto-exec macro, or if a startup form is defined, then we can also call it from the loading of the startup form. But as I don't intend to have any code here, I just create an auto-exec macro. I define, I say I want to run code, and the code I want to run is load dummy ribbon. And that is the reason why I created a function here, because for the macro action run code, you must use a function. That is the only reason for that. Now I save this and I name it auto-exec, which will make Access run this macro when it opens the application. And we need to do one more thing. We need to define the application's default ribbon to be the one we loaded. So we go to Access, to the Access option here, to the current database, and if we scroll down a bit, there is a small drop down for the ribbon name, and as we have not loaded the ribbon yet, there is no name in there, but I can still type it, and yeah, I'm sorry about that. You cannot really see that, but I typed in dummy ribbon. I say OK, and Microsoft Access tells me you need to close the database and reopen it for the specified options to take effect. OK, so we close the database and we open the database again. we go back to our code inside the VBA environment, and now pay attention here to the background. At the moment the ribbon is on database tools here, and it will soon switch to add-ins if I run this code. Here we are. But there is one more step left to do. The intention was that this is done automatically when the database opens. And there's one more problem that is not obvious at first. We control when Access runs the load dummy ribbon procedure here by running the auto-exec macro. But Access will load the ribbon asynchronously. So we don't really know when this will be completed. If we would say, we put in this call here, right there, inside the dummy ribbon, and we say, okay, load ribbon, and then go down here and run the activate ribbon tab, then we would still have the problem that our ribbon instance is not yet assigned, because Access is loading the stuff in the background and it's not ready yet. So this line of code must be moved to the ribbon on load event, because that is the event. It's not a true event, but that's the callback procedure that Access calls once it finished loading the ribbon. So here we can now safely put in this this call, and if we now close the database and reopen it, then the database is loaded, and automatically, without me doing anything, we are here at the add-ins tab, and the user sees the custom command bars, and that's it. That is the solution to the initial question of the person asking on the forum. But if we are here already, I will take this a small step further. The difficult parts are all settled already, but I would like to add a little bit more that is more relevant in today's programming. If you create a whole custom ribbon with lots of controls, basically replacing all the old menus, you might still have the need to eventually switch the ribbon to one of your custom tabs, because if the user does something in the application, you think, okay, he will most likely need this and that command next, and they are in a certain tab, and you want to switch your custom tab to those, your custom ribbon to those tabs. And to simulate a more complex ribbon, I prepared some more code here, and I will insert this in inside the VBA procedure here. And let's look at that now. It's actually fairly simple. This was basically where we had our ribbon before, and now I just entered this. I defined the tabs XML, and then I said, yeah, here is a custom tab, and I called that my custom tab, and that should be in the ribbon. So I save my code, and let's prepare something in advance. So I will create a slight variation of our activate tab by MSO ID. The MSO ID is a Microsoft ID for built-in controls. So if you want to activate built-in ribbon tabs, it's best done using the MSO ID. But if you create your own tabs, then you would reference the ID that is defined here, and that is just my custom tab. That is the ID of my ribbon tab, and you can name that in any way you like, but you must use the activate tab method to set the active ribbon tab. And now I need to once again close the database for access to load my modified ribbon with the customized tab. So we reload that, and now you see here at the end is my custom tab. That is the tab I just created, and there's nothing here because I didn't define any controls, and that's not really today's topic, so I'm not going to do that. Let's go to our VBA code again, and I copy over my custom tab, and now I want to use the function activate ribbon tab by ID, and I pass in the name of my custom tab, the name that I defined inside the XML. And now pay attention again to the ribbon up here. I run the code, and you see access switched to the ribbon up here, and now this is the active tab in the ribbon. So this is even relevant if you use a real custom modern UI. There is one thing you should be aware if you work with such a ribbon object variable. If you stop the code, like using the stop button up here, this one, or if you reset the code because there was an error and you debug and change something, and Access tells you, yeah, the code is going to be reset. If that reset happens or the stop happens, this variable is gone, and there is no easy way to get it back except closing the application and restarting it. And I think I will make another video showing you how you can restore this, but that's beyond today's scope. So essentially we are done here for today. So thank you very much for watching. If you liked the video, please hit the like button below. And I would also really appreciate it if you subscribe to my channel. I know I didn't publish a new video for quite a while, but I really intend to do better the next couple of weeks and months. So I think it might be a good idea if you subscribe. And one final word, the tiny dummy command bar in my video, I created that within seconds with my custom tool, the CommandBar Editor of Access DevTools. And if you are interested in that tool, I recommend you download the trial version and look at it. It's still useful today to create, either to maintain old command bar menus or to create context menus. And if you think that could be useful for that, there is a fully functional trial version for you to check out. And I'm also adding, for a short time, I'm adding a discount for 30%, and you will find the discount code in the pinned comment below this video, but it will be limited to a small number of users, and it will only be there for a very limited time. So if you're interested, I suggest you use that discount code quickly to get a discounted price on that video. Okay, on that tool, not video. Thank you very much for watching, and bye bye, see you soon.